and inform and guide legislative interventions across the breadth and dimensions of our region and the continent. I applaud your outstanding work, which is grounded on sound principles of public health and is informed by scientific evidence, and above all, a respect for human rights. And when we deal with human rights, we must appreciate not just the universality of human rights, but their interdependence and indivisibility. We can't focus on one to the exclusion of others. They are interdependent and they are indivisible. And when we place human rights at the very center of our approaches, we, guided by these fundamental precepts, will have the best legislation and regulatory frameworks. This approach that you champion is fully aligned with the approach that the government of Botswana takes. We've committed ourselves fully to a human rights-based approach in everything that we do. We are fully committed to this. And we have in our government champions of human rights, trailblazers in their own spaces, who continue to guide and inform our strategic direction as a government. I note with great appreciation as well the work of the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime and the Global Commission on Drug Policy. They play a significant role in addressing the challenges posed by transnational organized crime. Transnational organized crime networks that run across the globe and find pockets and bastions on the African continent. Through their work, governments, civil society, and international agencies have conducted extensive research on organized crime in Africa. They are building the capacity of African law enforcement and judicial systems, and they are also assisting to address the links and connections between organized crime and governance. We must appreciate that some of these networks organize themselves into predatory conspiracies that affix themselves to certain individuals in authority, even in government, and are able, therefore, to operate without the possibility of detection, because some of them may, in fact, be receiving protection at the highest levels. In certain other instances, they end up running the government itself. And so we need to be always on guard to ensure that we don't, as leaders, get sucked into these networks and micro-networks of crime organized across borders Very important, therefore, to work very closely with these agencies and organizations to heed the advice, the recommendations, the evidence and the data that they present to us, the better to develop our policies and our legal and regulatory frameworks to respond robustly and decisively to the trenchant problems posed by these drug networks and cartels. For Botswana, this meeting is very important and timely because it comes at a time when we are in the process of developing a comprehensive framework to manage the cultivation, production, and distribution of cannabis and industrial hemp. We've had some debates amongst ourselves, muddled through as intelligently as we could, but we now have the best opportunity to receive guidance and counsel from those who have been active, who have conducted rigorous research, probing, and assessment, who are then in a position to inform the efforts that we undertake. So this meeting will provide an opportunity for dialogue with the commissioners, the esteemed participants here, on their evidence-based scientific approaches, and enable us to formulate comprehensive drug policies. President Motlanthe has indicated decriminalization. There's a tendency when society is confronted with a scourge or a crisis to respond by invoking penal or criminal legislation and approaches. He says we must pause, reflect, and be loath to embrace criminalization, especially faced with evidence that it has not worked, it has not deterred, it has no deterrent capability or impact. But we hear across society people clamoring for more criminalization, more retribution, imprison them, imprison for a long time and throw away the key or the keys. That's what you hear across society. And leaders, politicians, pander to these sentiments because they lack the courage to stand firm and defend principles and invoke tenets of human rights, and in the process inform and educate society. So your task, our task, is to educate the leaders themselves. We must not assume they know. Don't think we know these things. Some of us are terribly ignorant of many of these. So we need to be assisted, to be guided, to be educated, to be schooled in these, and to be given the proper tools of analysis so that we are able to go back to our people and exchange views with them, and in the process, educate them as well. So I'm grateful to be here with you today. In relation to cannabis, hemp, I've, long before I assumed the office of president, advocated for some of the approaches and strategies that you highlight. Maybe not from so informed a position as I will be at the end of your meeting and upon engaging with your recommendations, but I have always taken that view and have articulated it. And when I did at the time, it was subjected to ridicule, and it was used as a political stick to push back. And at such a time when you are faced with such hostility and resistance as a leader, especially one aspiring for high office, you may be cowed into submission and retreat. Happily, I wasn't. I was strengthened in my resolve, and I articulated this in Parliament then. And in the State of the Nation address, after I had taken over, I made it very clear and plain that I remained faithful to those values and those principles that I articulated. I remain committed to them now, and I am even more fortified, having listened to President Motlanthe and appreciating that I'm in good company in articulating some of these propositions. We now see, with perhaps more clarity than we ever did, that the use of cannabis for medicinal purposes is gaining traction. It is gaining attention globally. And research continues to reveal a wide range of benefits that we could derive from the use of cannabis, addressing emotional, physical, psychological challenges, as well as pain management and neurological conditions. Some guy showed me some little contraption which you press and you inhale, as it's TB something. Says when you can't sleep, you are irritable, you inhale this thing 5 times, calms you down and you are able to sleep. I tried it and I must say I slept very soundly after. And he says it's readily available. And he also gave me another similar contraption and said, where you have a headache, you press here and you inhale 5 times. And I said to him, yeah, when I was growing up, I remember my grandmother used to have some little root in my mother tongue. We called it umtomboti. Only Mr. Motlanthe might understand. Umtomboti. You put it on coals, and the smoke that comes out, you inhale, and the headache goes. So some of these things are known, they're part of some indigenous storehouse of knowledge that we must also visit, because many of these, including the medicinal use of cannabis, is known, I think, in our culture. It's part of some of our indigenous knowledge. And so we need to be open to many of these uses and learnings And so in Botswana, we will participate together with you and others in rigorous research efforts. We are open to clinical trials and studies that will enable us to fully understand the breadth of the therapeutic potential of cannabis. And so we look forward to your thoughts, your ideas in these regards. And I commend the countries that have taken the lead: Lesotho, South Africa, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Rwanda, Ghana, Morocco, and others. They have regulated and legislated cannabis for uses in industry and medicine, and I appreciate their trailblazing work and efforts on the continent. And so they provide us with ready benchmarking opportunities. It has been indicated, and I agree, that drug policy reforms must be harmonized and be consistent with quality standards. They must address any legal ambiguities and create robust regulatory frameworks. But they must also, in the context of our countries in Africa, appreciate the role of the small farmer so that they are not cast to the margins and or ignored completely. They must also be brought on board and assisted to comply with the highest international standards as well, so that we ensure equitable participation of local small-scale farmers. We also are not oblivious to the harms associated with cannabis. We are alive to the realities and complexities of regulating the space, the market, in relation to cannabis. But we are committed to learning and participating. We also are alive to the fact that our countries are becoming routes, trade routes, conduits in the drug trade. We need to strengthen our detection. We need to cooperate across borders. We must have interagency cooperation so that we can effectively control and regulate and enforce drug policies. We must not forget public education, awareness raising. These play a critical role in ensuring the successful dissemination of vital information around these issues, but also enabling the successful implementation of our cannabis policies. We in Botswana have established the Drug Enforcement Agency, which is tasked with the enforcement of the regulatory provisions. We also have the Botswana Medicines Regulatory Authority, BOMRA, whose mandate is to oversee the regulation of medicines, medical devices, cosmetics, and to promote health in Botswana. These agencies will support the work that you do. They will work closely with yourselves and assist us. We fully commit to working with you and to ensuring that we all succeed. And so it gives me great pride then and joy to be here with you, to wish you well in your deliberations, and to assure you of our full participation, our commitment to work with you and to benefit from your wise counsel, your experiences, and your recommendations. I thank you very much for the pleasure of your company here today, each and every one of you, and the privilege of your kind attention. Thank you so very much.